Welcome to the Shakaama Live Show with your host, Shakaama. Please subscribe to my channel to keep updated on this. Daniel Holtzclaw appeals to the Supreme Court for false accusations and fake DNA in 263-year sentence. Here's a even funnier little detail no one is reporting. The 13 women who accused Daniel Holtzclaw all filed lawsuits against Oklahoma have all been suspiciously unsuccessful. It's almost as if the courts do not believe them. Can you have it both ways, Oklahoma? Let's get into the story. It's one of those stories we're told must be true since so many women wouldn't lie about something like this, right? A whopping 13 women accused former Oklahoma City police officer Daniel Holtzclaw of rape and sexual assault. Holtzclaw was sentenced to 263 years in prison back in 2016. He has appealed his conviction and failed, but is now petitioning the Supreme Court to take up his case, citing faulty DNA evidence. Holtzclaw, a brief obtained by the Daily Wire, states that the false DNA evidence led to his conviction, which should be overturned. Quote, DNA evidence played a central role in the sexual assault case in the form of a match between DNA from a complaining witness and the major contributor in DNA mixtures found on the fly of petitioner's pants, the brief says. This evidence was conveyed to the jury by state forensic analysis Elaine Taylor. Keep that name in mind. However, concerns over Taylor's personal records arose while direct appeal was pending, and the state appellate court remanded to the district court, which held a remarkable 2-day hearing in camera and ex parte on the matter. Although the defense counsel were excluded from the hearing, which should be completely not fair at all, the transcript and exhibits were made available to defense counsel, but not to the defense expert DNA witness. There's another red flag. The prosecutor at trial misrepresented the DNA evidence during closing arguments. Taylor's involvement is even more problematic, as she is the mother-in-law of the lead detective in the case, Rocky Gregory. She's also admitted in a deposition by attorney Kathleen Zellner office that she was witnessed boxes of evidence from sex crimes getting burned and shoved in a big old hole by the Oklahoma City River. Taylor also worked with Joyce Gilchrist, whose falsified forensic evidence led to multiple wrongful convictions and multi-million-dollar settlements after they were found to be wrongful and exonerations. In at least one case, Gilchrist claimed carpet fibers were actually pubic hair to get someone convicted. Holtzclaw was initially accused of alleged forcible oral sodomy and the procurement of lewd exhibition by one woman. This accusation quickly grew to 13 different women, making 36 counts of wildly different allegations, including first-degree burglary, stalking, and rape. Holtzclaw wrote in his brief that the court was prejudiced by the numbers of accusers who allegedly created, quote, a self-corroborating cascade of testimony which reinforced its own credibility through sheer volume. Does that sound familiar to you all? Clearly 13 women couldn't lie. Clearly 40 women couldn't lie. Until you then dissect the actual 40 women. I'm talking about Bill Cosby. Until you dissect the 13 women, and it actually comes down to about 6 women, and it's whittled down to actually 1 woman. So the whole 40 women against Bill Cosby all failed, and they whittled it down to 1 woman. And then they had a kangaroo court, and then in that trial, they brought in the 6 women who were proven since we're talking about public opinion, right? So who were proven to have all lied. So then we have this case with Holtzclaw, 13 women. In my former video on the matter, I told you that no woman identified Holtzclaw in their testimony, in their depositions. This is before the trial. They said a white man, a blonde man, a black man, a short man, a fat man. Daniel Holtzclaw is 6'5", Asian, with jet black hair, and he's a bodybuilder. How on earth do you go from a 6'5" Asian to a black man or a blonde-haired white man? It just doesn't add up. The first, Holtzclaw was found guilty with jail of what jail claimed, even though a sexual assault kit came back negative. And she claimed her assailant was a short man with blonde hair. Holtzclaw is 6'1", and has black hair. Another of the women claimed the man who assaulted her was a short black police officer. Holtzclaw is Japanese American with light skin. This same accuser claimed the rape took 5 to 10 minutes, yet GPS data for Holtzclaw patrol car of the vehicle is only motionless for less than 3 minutes. That means he stopped, got out of his car, or he sat in his car writing up something, got out of his car, went to her car, spoke with her, came back to his car, sat in his car and wrote something, and then took off all in 3 minutes. But she said it took 5 to 10 minutes. Do you believe perhaps she was lying? Or do you believe perhaps she was talking about somebody else at some different time on a completely different day? Most of the women who came forward after were criminals themselves who received plea deals in exchange for their testimony. That sounds very odd, doesn't it? Discrepancies were plentiful in the women's allegations, such as one teenager who had a history of physical violence, including on the day she alleged Holtzclaw sexually assaulted her. The teen's mother also told the detective her daughter called Holtzclaw a hot cop the night of the alleged assault. Months later, the teen would claim Holtzclaw raped her. The mother made numerous denials during her testimony and was presented with audio and written evidence of what she said previously. Another Holtzclaw accused showed up obnoxiously intoxicated to testify, but denied taking anything other than her prescription medication. She was drug tested and found to have PCP in her system, which was allowed to testify still. Another accuser had a history of lying to police and was determined to have been high on crack the night she was stopped by Holtzclaw. Again, DNA evidence of her claims came back negative. Despite all of these issues and more, Holtzclaw was found guilty. He appeals his case to the Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals, but was rejected. The DNA of one of the alleged victims was found in the fly of Holtzclaw work pants, but, as the Daily Wire has written previously, this is not conclusive evidence of sexual assault, as touch DNA can be transferred in numerous ways, including police taking DNA from evidence in their evidence locker and placing it there for the forensic evidence. Shakaama, are you accusing the police of targeting Holtzclaw? I very well am. I already did that in the last video that I did on this. Holtzclaw could easily have picked up the woman's DNA from her driver's license during the traffic stop and later adjusted his pants, getting out of the patrol car, or zipping up his fly after using the restroom. Do you understand how it actually works? DNA doesn't have to, there's nothing magical about it. If you touch something belonging to somebody else, and then with your hands pat yourself down, you have now transferred the DNA from that person to your shoulder, to your stomach, to your pants, or whatever. That's how DNA works. There's nothing magical about it. The saving grace for Holtzclaw has been his sister, Jenny, who told the Daily Wire that Daniel's case isn't just important for Oklahoma City cops, but to wrongfully accuse victims everywhere. All of them matters to Oklahoma, quote, all of this matters to Oklahoma and the entire country because scientifically invalid testimony by government experts or corrupted crime labs is being used to prosecute, to mislead juries and put innocent people in prison. The Supreme Court is concerned a certain petition in death row inmate Rodney Reed's case that raises similar issues, she said in an email. Even worse, such flawed DNA evidence was used in Daniel's case to bolster multiple false accusations altogether as part of a nightmare pylon. The bandwagon tactic will be exploited more and more if informed judges don't put a stop to it. And before we continue, let me explain. The Supreme Court will hear a case. First of all, the Supreme Court has to agree to hear a case before you just can't appeal. They have to agree to hear the case. And normally the way the Supreme Court will hear a case is if it presents some sort of question that the Supreme Court has not answered ever before, or if they've answered it and this Supreme Court completely disagrees with a decision of a former Supreme Court made by, or even it could be them, but they've changed their mind about something and they want to hear the case again to now change their complete ruling. So there is another case pending similar to Daniel Holtzclaw's case, and it is likely that the Supreme Court may hear it. Now, here's the kicker. The district attorney in Oklahoma City refuses to even answer the petition to the Supreme Court. Why? News 9 reported the Oklahoma County District Attorney David Prattner told the outlet that Daniel's defense team continues, quote, to make arguments rejected by other appellate courts. We expect the same decision from the Supreme Court. The deadline for the Supreme Court to respond was February 5th. Now, do I have an update for that response? I do not have an update for that. If you would like for me to do another update, depending on the success of this video, I'll do an update. So make sure you leave a comment saying that you want to see that update to what the Supreme Court says. Thank you all for watching. Please donate to the channel. I don't know if you know this, but everybody's asking for donations. I'm not special in that department. YouTube has done something, and now all of our views and everything is just completely almost stopped. Of course, only the big ticket mainstream media get to even have anything. So if you actually see this video, please do everything that you can. Otherwise, there is no independent news. I'm an actual licensed journalist here in Las Vegas. Got my little tag and everything. I can walk behind the lines of a murder case, murder scene, everything. There we go. Thank y'all for watching. I appreciate everything you do for me.